Mic test. Mic test. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, audible now.
Yeah. Thank you, Surak. Suddenly, this mic has been went to uh, some issue. So, yeah. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to AZ104 training program. Still, we are getting some comments on the chat. No sound, but few people has been confirmed. So we have a sound has been coming also. Okay, thank you. So let's go back to the topic because I can see majority of the people has been confirmed. There is a sound and it's been loud and clear also. Thank you for confirming that. Okay. Now today's topic it's about more into networking side and we'll get into the Active Directory concept also. Yesterday we have concluded the session with the concept of public IP address. We have seen how public IP address has been assigned to a VM, and we have seen the usage of a public IP address also. So when someone want to connect to a resource on in a cloud or in a VM, by default the public IP address has been assigned to a VM. With the help of that, you are able to connect to that particular VM or a particular workstation. Today we are discussing about a private IP address. So when we had a discussion about an IP address concept yesterday, we understood if you are taking in a infrastructure, we'll be using public IP address as well as the private IP address also. So we'll be using both the set of IP address here. So any IP address which you can able to use internally, that basically it's been knowing as a private IP address. You may be already aware of the public private IP address range and the usage also. For example, like in a on-premises scenario, if you want to assign a private IP address in a normally in your on-premises or in a internal network, we used to assign the private IP address. This has been starting from a class of 10 dot series, or it's been the start of a 172 series, or it's been the class of a 192 series. These are the few set of IP address generally we used to assign to the internally. So that means the IP address which currently it's been configured with a 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255, or the IP range which has been starting from 172 dot series 16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255, 172 192.168.0.0.2, 192.168.255.255. This set of IP address generally knowing as a private IP address. This set of IP address which is been not routable in internet also. This is a kind of IP address generally known as private IP address. There is no charges being involved. This is the set of IP address which you can able to use internally. Now, if you're taking a on-premises solution, if you're taking an on-premises solution, you may be using two methods for assigning an IP address. One it's been like we used to go behind individual computer and we used to assign a private IP address manually. Like we used to go to NIC properties, NICART properties. We used to go there, and from there you can able to assign a manual IP address. That's the first method we used to follow in an on-premises scenario. Second scenario, we used to use a concept of DHCP. That's called Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. With the help of a dynamic host configuration protocol, we have an option to push the IP address using a service. DHCP stands for a dynamic host configuration protocol. So with the help of a server, they're used to configure something called DHCP scope, and we used to push the IP address using a DHCP concept. So that is the way generally the IP address is been, or that is the way the private IP address is been assigned internally on in a on-premises scenario. Now the question is been coming here. In case if you're hosting a resource on in a Microsoft cloud, how will you assign a private IP address? What is the option you have in front of us? When you are taken in a on-premises one, we used to go for a DHCP server, or we used to have a manual IP address. Now, when it is coming on in a cloud side, what is the option you have? Basically, we'll be using a kind of a DHCP kind of a service here. When it is coming on in a cloud, IP address generally it's been assigned in a VNet level. We used to assign IP address in a VNet level. So we used to assign the IP address in a VNet level. We used to assign IP address here. VNet stands for virtual networking. It's been virtually you are creating a networking. So the IP address when you are assigning here, you will be assigning a pool, or basically it's been knowing as a address space. Address space. So when you install a DHCP, we used to assign an IP address with the help of a scope. So with the help of a scope, we used to assign an IP address here. But when it is coming on in a Microsoft side or in a cloud side, IP address is being used to configure with the help of a VNet. Similar kind of a concept you can able to see on other cloud service provider also. If you take a Amazon, the similar kind of a service is being known as a VPC. When if you're working on in a Google Cloud, this basically is been knowing as a cloud networking. So similar kind of a service, it's been available on other cloud service provider as well. So right now we are trying to see how private IP address can be configured inside a cloud. End of the session, you need to understand the moment when you configure a VM, technically you will be getting two IP address. One is been like a VNet. You will be getting a private IP address from a VNet. Second one is been like your public IP address. Public IP address has been assigned by the cloud service provider. Depends upon which region you've been assigned an IP address here. Now, when you're configuring a IP address, there are two ways we can able to configure here. One, it's been like you can able to assign a VNet. First, you can create a VNet, and all the computer you can able to attach to that particular VNet here. For example, like if you have created a virtual network, in each region you need to have a VNet. So the moment when you create any VM, it's mandatory that the particular region needs to have a mandatory VNet. So in the same networking, you will be assigning multiple VMs. In case if there is no VNet is been available at the time of a creation, you have an option to create a new VNet also. Let's take a scenario here. Let's create a resource group, cloud bash. We will be creating a VNet inside East US data center. We'll create a production network. This is the VNet we are going to assign. We will be assigning an IP address 10.0.0./60. This is the IP address. Right now we are going to assign here. Let's go back to the portal. Let's go to the portal here. I already having some resource group is been available here. Let me clear that. So otherwise you may get confused. Let me delete this one. Give me a second. Let me delete this one. Give me a second. Okay. Otherwise you may get confused here. Right now you can able to see there is a deletion is been in a progress here. So we need to just wait. Let's wait a minute. So this deletion is in progress now. Let's wait. So we are trying to create a VNet here. So just waiting a couple of resource group already available here. I'm just deleting that. So right now this deletion is in progress here. So we are just trying to create a VNet here. Let's see how this has been created. So the lab currently we are going to do here, it's like we are trying to create a subnet and we are trying to create a VNet also. So right now we are going to we are going to create a VNet in the East West region. So we are going to create a VNet, a virtual network. Okay. So the virtual network, it's been going to attach with a resource group. We'll create a resource group called Apple, and the VNet name, I'm going to give it's called prod VNet. I'm going to create an IP address 10.0.0./60. This is the IP address currently we are going to create it here. So there's a multiple way we can able to create a VNet here. I'll show you both. So right now you need to understand we are going to create a VNet. What is the name we are giving? It's mandatory that we need to give a name, and we are giving a name of prod VNet here. So let's wait. Now a couple of points you need to remember. Whenever you're going for creating a VNet, a couple of information has been mandatory here. One, it's been like you need to have a subscription details. You should know what is the subscription to be used or where you're going to do a billing. So you need to have that details. Second one, you need to mention which region you're going to create it here. That means if you are creating a VNet, this got some dependency with a region. That means in each region, it's mandatory that you need to have a VNet. You cannot connect a VM which is been located in one region. For example, like your VM is in East US data center. Your VNet is in a West US data center. That is me not possible. So if you have any resources available in each region, you can able to map only to the VNet which is been available in that region. You cannot, in case if you want to interconnect to a different VNet, you may have to go for a different concept. So there is a concept of um, it's mandatory that in each region you need to have a details to be available. So only then you can able to move into the connection part here. So right now we are going to create a prod VNet and it's been going to create in the East US region. So I'm just creating it's in a East US region here. And the range I'm going to define it's been like 10 dot series here. Let's go and create it here. Let's go to the portal here. Right now the deletion is almost completed here. Now let me go to recovery vault also. You can see this. Okay. Now I'm just going to create a virtual networking. The moment you are planning for creating a virtual network, You can able to go to the networking tab here. You have a networking virtual networking tab. You can able to see here. Here you can able to select virtual network here. So virtual network, it's been like you can able to see the resource group name you need to provide. So it's mandatory that when you go for creating a VNet, you need to have a resource group to be available. I'm just giving the resource group is been Apple. And what is the name we need to provide to your networking? I'm just giving it's a prod VNet. Now I need to provide which region I'm going to create it here. For example, like I'm creating in a East to West data center here. So I'm just selected. It's been East to West data center is the region I'm been selected. Right now you can able to see I've been selected is a East to West data center here. Now in the next tab, you are going to provide the address space. So address space generally means that the private IP address or the IP address which you are going to use it internally. That IP address details you need to provide it here. Now here you can able to see IP address and what is the subnet mask if you are using. For example, like if you are using a 16, you may be able to see you are eligible to create like if you're selecting, you may be able to see it's in like you have a 65,000 IP address, you are able to use it here. You can able to see in the bracket 65,536. For example, like if you want to connect more than that, you can able to change the IP address also here, the subnet mask. For example, like you can able to create this is been like a 65,000. You can able to see the IP address here. For example, right now you can able to see the subnet ID or the network portion have been changed to 50. So that's been allowing me to create a more number of IP address here. Right now you can able to see this been giving 1,31,072 here. Now in the bottom, if you're coming here, right now you can able to see something called subnet mask. Subnet mask is basically using, for example, like if you are creating a address space here, we are getting 1 lakh IP address here. Rather than breaking or rather than connecting on the 1 lakh IP address to a single port, again we can able to do a small chunks. There's something like if you take a shopping mall, when you go to shopping mall, you may be observed, just giving a scenario. Tomorrow it's been weekend, you may be going to a shopping mall, nearest shopping mall. You may be noticed like if you go to nearest shopping mall, I'm just giving a scenario here. If you take a nearest shopping mall, your shopping center may be having one name, right? Shopping center name may be X or Y. But when you entered inside, you may be able to see there is a small branded shop inside a shopping mall, right? So the address is being going to be X, but inside that you have a small isolated shops you can able to see. Similar way here also, if you give /16, this allowing you to create 65,000 plus servers rather than connecting all the 65,000 together, because I have some kind of a security concern. For example, like I have a domain controller, DNS, HR page live, guest user, or visitor, everyone instead of connecting to the same network, I can able to make a small isolated blocks that basically known as subnet. I can able to create from the 65,000. Again, I can make small unit that's called a chunks, or basically it's been knowing as subnet. So it's been so one subnet to another subnet, you won't be able to communicate each other. So by default, there will be we can able to make some kind of a traffic control, or it's been like a network control with the help of a concept called NSG. Basically, when you're coming on in a complex projects, we may have to do some kind of a network traffic management inside your organization. How this generally has been done? It's been done the isolation with the help of a subnet mask or a NSG here. So right now, if you're taking a VNet here, you will be getting an option to create multiple subnet also. Right now, if you can able to see here, I given a /16. 16 has been allowing me to create a 65,000 IP address here. So from that 65,000, again I am slicing a small unit. I'm just giving like this is for subnet A, this 10.00.1. Now I'm just adding another subnet. This is for my DB subnet. I'm just giving like a 10.0.1.0.24. This is my another subnet. So if any computer has been assigning part of the subnet, they will be getting an IP address from the range of 10.0.1.cs. So similar way, you can able to create multiple subnet here. Right now, if you can able to see here, we have assigned 10.0.0.0.16. This is the network range we have been provided. Then again, we have been classified as a small unit that basically it's been knowing as a subnet here. So let me review and create it here. I'm just create it here. Let's wait. Right now the installation is in the progress here. So let's wait for that. So right now you can able to see the deployment is in progress here. Right now you can able to see the deployment has been completed here. Right now, if you click on this virtual network, you may be able to see there is a virtual network has been created here. That virtual network is been knowing as a prod VNet. Now, if you go to the prod VNet here, you can able to see this has been created under a category of a Apple here, and it's been created under a category of a East to West location here. Now, if you click on this, you may be able to see there is a additional. You can able to see the IP address details here, something like a 10.0.0.16 here. Now, if you go back to the portal here or the whiteboard, right now, if you go to my portal here, sorry, whiteboard. So right now the exercise currently we have done. We have created a VNet here. What is the VNet name we have given? We have given a name of prod VNet, right? If you take it here, prod VNet, prod VNet we have been given. Then IP address we have been assigned 10.0.0.0.16. Again, I have been divided into small chunks here. It's been like a subnet A, which has been given 10.0.0./24. Then we have given DB subnet, which is being given 10.0.10.04 here. Now, right now we are going to create two VMs here. I'm just going to create a first VM. Let's call it VM1 here. Let's try to create a VM1 here and try to attach this VM into part of this network here. That's the lab. Right now we are going to do it here. Let's go back to the portal here. Let's go to the virtual machine here. Now I'm going to create a virtual machine here. You can able to see the virtual machine has been created here. I'm attaching this virtual machine into East to West data center here. Right now you can able to see I given name is been VM1. It's been created in the East to West data center here. Right now if you selected it to Windows server here, given the username and password. Right now you can able to see given username and password. Now the moment when you go to networking tab, you may be able to see the existing virtual network currently it's been created. You may be able to see here. It's been system has been showing, hey admin, there is a production VNet already has been created in the ES2S data center here. Now, if you're happy with that, you can able to go for attaching to the same VNet, or you are getting a provision or a flexibility to create a new VNet as well. If you click it here, you have an option to create a new VNet also here. So here you can able to create a new VNet here. For example, like if you want to create another network like a HR VNet. So here you can able to select a different address space and you can able to create it here also. We'll see it in the later portion of that. Right now, if you select it here, right now you have been selected location is been East to West here. For example, like I'm instead of East to West, let me select South Central US here. You may be able to see here the moment when you select South Central US, if you go to networking here, I'm not able to see this prod VNet. Can you comment on in the chat why we are not able to see prod VNet? What is your thought about that? What is your view? Like why we are not able to see the prod VNet there? Can you comment it on the chat? Can you comment it on the chat? Right now I've been selected on a different subscription here. So why I'm not able to see the prod VNet here? And what are you learning from them? So like if someone has been creating here and if you're not seeing a virtual network there, what is your thought or what is your view why we are not able to see here? So a couple of people has been commented on the chat. So I'm expecting a reply from everyone here. Yes. So the reason it's been very simple here. The virtual network currently you have been created that was created in the East to West region. Currently the VM is being have been selected in the South Central. So the point here it's been like your VM should be on the same region where your VNet is been created. That is an important point you need to remember. So you will not have any position to attach a VM from one region to a different VNet which has been created on in another location. You need to have in the same region. So that is a point, important point you need to remember. Now, right now, let's create on in the same location here. So don't need to um, go for a different one here. Let's create it on the same region and attach to the subnet A. Right now, you can able to see I have been selected in the prod VNet and it's been selected into the subnet A also. So I'm just reviewing and creating the VM here. Let's create that VM here. So validation has been completed here. Let's create a VM. Right now the deployment is in progress here. It's been progress here. So right now you can able to see there is a VM is been attached here. So we can able to see here there is a VM1 we have been created. Now if you go back to the whiteboard here, now if you go back here, you may be able to see here there is a VM is been created here, right? You can able to see there is a VM1, it's been attached here. So where we've been attached, the VM has been attached to a subnet A here. So technically what will happen? This will be getting an IP address from here. So VM1, right now it's been getting an IP address from here. You may be able to see it's got an IP address 10.0.4 here. Now, if you go back to the VM here, you may be able to see here the VM1 got an IP address from where it's been got an IP address. It's been attached. Right now, you can able to see if you click on this subnet here, you may be able to see here. This mean if you click on the subnet here, right now you can able to see this has been attached to a prod VNet. Inside a prod VNet, this has been attached to a subnet EA also. We can able to see this has been attached to subnet EA here. So technically this has been allowing us to create a subnet and it's been getting an IP address from a subnet EA here. Right now you can able to see this got an IP address 10.0.0.4 here. So this got an IP address from that subnet here. Now let's create a second VM here. Then let's try to see what is the IP address you are going to get it from the subnet here. Let me create another VM here. Right now you can able to see I'm creating a second VM. I'm attaching from the same subnet. Okay, so I'm attaching to the same subnet here. Right now you can able to see here is 2s. It's only I'm creating. Just creating. I'm just attaching to the same networking. You can able to see the network card here. So here I'm just selecting the same DB subnet A I'm selecting. So I have a two subnet has been available here. I've been selected subnet A here. So I'm just given preview and a create here. So right now I can see a couple of chat message. Do you mind? Let me know the admin username and so. So you can use any username and password, Samish. Whatever user account name you are using it at the time of a creation, that username you need to create at the time of the creation of the user. So that's important point you need to remember. So that's a point you need to create it here. So that's important point. So right now the deployment is in Right now, the deployment of the VM2 has been in progress here. So let's wait. So right now you can able to see here. Right now the deployment of the VM2 has been almost it's been completed here. So right now what we have done, it's been like you maybe notice here VM2 also it's been created here. Right now if you click on the VM2, you may be able to see here you have a VM is been created here. Right now if you can able to go to the properties here, you may be able to see the VM2 also it's been assigned with an IP address 10.0.0.5 here. Right now if you go to a portal here, you can able to see. Let's go back to the whiteboard here. Right now you can able to see you have a broad VNet has been created here. Right now if you can able to see here, there's a broad VNet has been available here. So you can able to see here. So you have a broad VNet you have been created. It's been assigned 10.0.0.c16. Now inside that you have been created two subnet. One subnet you've been created is been DB subnet, and you assign 10.0.1.0.24. Second subnet you've been created is been like a prod subnet or subnet A. Subnet A you've been given. You've been given 10.0.0.0.0.24. Then you have attached two VM here. If you go inside this one, created a two VM. One it's been like two VM1 and VM2. So you have seen second VM is being got an IP address from here. It's called 10.0.0.5. This VM is been got an IP address from here. This got 10.0.0.4. Now we are getting a question here. What happened to 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.0, 10.0.0.2, 10.0.0.3? Can you comment it on in a chat? So right now you may be observed here. The moment you attach VM1 or a VM2, you have a VM1 and VM2. It's been created here. The moment it's created here, this got a first IP address is starting from 10.0.4. What happened to 0.4, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3? Where is this IP address? Any idea? Yes, it's been knowing as reserved IP address here. So if you take any Azure infrastructure, it's been knowing as a reserved IP address here. It's been known as Azure reserved IP address. So if you take any infrastructure, generally the reserved IP address has been mentioned with x dot x dot x. For example, like here you can able to see if you take any network, your reserved IP address has been always like this x dot x dot x dot 1, or it's been mentioned like x dot x dot 0. So this has been using for a network address. Since here I'm using a 10 dot series, so 10 dot 0 dot 0 dot address. So this has been used by the network address. Then x dot x dot x dot 1, if you take any network, this has been used by the gateway address. So by default, the gateway address it's been using for the gateway here. So here in this case, it's a 10 dot series. So 10 dot 0 dot 0 dot 1 is being used by the gateway address here. 2 and 3, if you're taking x dot x dot x dot 2, x dot x dot x dot 3, basically this is being used by the DNS servers. In case if you have any Azure DNS is been using. So DNS is been by used by 2 and 3 here. So right now you can able to see this has been assigned for Azure DNS. Now x dot x dot x dot 255, that basically it's been used by the network broadcast address. So here in this case it's been going to be 10.0.255. So it's been used by the broadcast address. So it's been using for a broadcasting purpose. So right now you can able to see here you have a 2 VM here, 10.0.0.4 and 10.0.5 here. Let's connect to that VM here. Let's go back to that VM here and let's try to see that. Let's go to a couple of VMs here. Already we have a VM has been available here. Right now you can able to see. Let's connect to VM1 here. If you go to connect here, let me connect to that photo. Let me connect to that port. So let's connect to this VM here. Let's connect. Let's connect to that VM here. Just giving the username and password. You may be able to see here. Password has been given. Let's wait. Right now you can able to see this server here. Right now we've been connected to the server here, both the server here. Right now, we can able to see VM has been created here. Let's take a IP address here. If you can able to type ipconfig, you may be able to see it's got IP address 10.0.0.4. You may be able to see here it's got a gateway address 10.0.0.1. Now, if you type ipconfig all, you may be able to see here the IP address has been assigned here. For example, MAC address and other details you can able to pull it from here. So that's the way the IP address has been assigned to a VM on in a case here. Right now, if you go back to this situation here, you have a two VM. It's been created here. Now, right now you can able to see this VM1 and VM2. Now you can able to see this VM1 and VM2. It's been attached to the prod subnet. Now let me try to connect VM3 here. Instead of this prod subnet, if I'm connecting to this DB subnet, can you comment it on the chat? What will be the IP address VM3 will be getting? Can you comment it on the chat? I'm just giving an exercise here. We are trying to create it. We are trying to create another VM here. Already we have a second subnet also is been placed, which has been configured with 10.0.1.0. So right now we are trying to connect VM3 into the DB subnet here. So my question is here, if I'm connecting VM3, what will be the IP address I'm getting here? Right now you can able to see here, we got 4, we got a 5. So will I getting 10.0.0.6 or different IP address here? Now it's not a 2 address here. 2 will not be getting here. So why we are not getting a 2 IP address here? So I already told there are some set of IP addresses already reserved. One is be like a 0, 1, 2, 3. These all are reserved IP address. So you won't be getting any IP address 10.0.1.2. The reason it's been like always the 1.2 or dot 2 is been reserved IP address. So the answer it's been like, but you will not be able to get any IP address 2 here. So instead of that, you will be getting an IP address from this subnet mask 10.0.1.4 here. So this is the IP address which you are going to get. It's going to be 10.0.1.4 here. So we'll create a VM3 here. Once the VM3 has been created, we'll try for doing a different VNet creation. We'll try to understand about a peering concept here, how to communicate from one network to another network also here. So let's go back to the portal here. Let's try to create another subnet mask here. Sorry, another virtual machine here. So right now we have VM1 is been available, VM2 is been available. Now let's create VM3 on in a different subnet here. Let's create a VM3 here in the East to East data center. Let's create a server here. Instead of subnet A, let's create DB here. Right now you can able to see a DB here. Let me create a DB here. Right now you can able to see the DB is in progress here. Right now you can able to see here. VM creation is in started here. Let's wait. Right now you can able to see here. Deployment of VM3 is in a progress stage here. So let's wait for that. So right now you can able to see here your VM3 has been created here. Right now if you go to VM3 here, you will be able to see a difference here. If you go to the properties here, you may be able to see this VM3 is been attached to prod VNet, but on in a different uh, subnet here. So if you go to the IP address here, you may be able to see that difference here. You can able to see IP address is been given as 10.0.1.4. So there's the IP address you can able to see here. So it's got an IP address from a different subnet here. So I'm posing here for taking your questions. In case if you have any question related to the subnet creation, let's have a discussion, or else we'll take for a 5 minutes break. After a break, we'll go for creating a different VNet. Then we'll try to see how communication is been enabled here. Any questions from anyone? If you're good, requesting you to put a comment on in the chat window. That's a good question. Is there any possibility to configure a static IP address? In case, Nigel, if you want to configure a private static IP address to any VM, yes, we can able to do it here. You need to go to the VM properties here. For example, like you want thinking like you for the VM1, you want to assign a static IP address. You can go to the VM properties here. Any VM, so you take any VM here. Click on the networking tab. If you take any VM here, if you open here, you will be getting a screen like this. There is a property kind of window you will be able to see here. From the panel, there you can able to see something called settings tab here. Click on the settings tab. Bottom, you will be able to see something called networking. Click on the networking tab. In the networking tab, you can able to see the network interface card, because by default the IP address is been assigned to a network interface card here. So we need to assign to a network interface card here. So click on network interface card. You can able to click on network interface card. There you can able to see something called IP configuration. You can able to see the IP configurations here. The moment when you click on IP configuration, this will be taking to a IP properties here. You can wait a minute. So once it's been opened, you will be getting an option bottom here that's called assignment here. So this is the place you can able to set your IP address is been a static or a dynamic. Now, Nikhil was asking, is there any possibility to assign a static IP address? Yes, you can able to click on the static IP address here. For example, like you're thinking like, I need to reserve some IP address to my one of the VM where I have some critical application is been running, or this has been hosting some network printer settings. So you can able to click on the static, and you can able to click the save button here. So here you have option to convert, or it's mean like you have option to configure this as is in a uh, configured mode. Like you can able to configure this as in a static mode here. So this is the method generally we used to follow in a client side, in case if you want to configure any kind of IP address to be set as it's been a static IP address here. Any other questions here? Right now you can able to see the it's been activity is been triggered here. Any other question from anyone? I hope you are good. So in case if you're good, we can able to we can take a 5 minutes break and we can come back. After break, we'll go for configuration of the communication between different VNet, and we'll try to see how this can able to communicate each other. So let's have a discussion. Let's take a 5 minutes break and come back. Thank you. Taking a 5 minutes break. I hope all are back. It on in the window. So before break, we were discussing about a concept of subnet mask and creating a VM on in a different VNet here. Right now, you may be able to see here. We have a two subnet has been created here. So right now, I'm just going to create a communication between different VNet here. That's the topic currently we are discussing here. You may be notice here. You have a prod VNet has been created. You have a prod VNet has been created here. In a prod VNet, you have a two subnet has been created. One it's been subnet A has been created with a 10.0.0./24. Inside that you have a two VM has been available. VM1, VM2 here. VM1 got IP address 10.0.0.4. VM2 is got IP address 10.0.0.5. And you have a DB subnet has been ready here. It's been got 10.0.1./24. VM3 has been created here. It's been created with an IP address of 10.0.1.4. address. Right now we are trying to see, are we able to communicate this each other? Because you've been created a networking here. So end of the day, creation of a networking is for making a communication between each other. Right now, if you're taking a screen here, or if you're taking a communication here, we are just trying to see how this has been communication has been enabled here. Is there any kind of a communication has been by default, it's been available between a different subnet? We're just trying to understand here. So the first case, we are going to take a scenario here. You have a subnet has been available here. You have a subnet has been available called subnet A. We are trying to see, are we able to communicate between VM1 to VM2? Both are created on in a same subnet. So we are just trying to understand a scenario here. What will happen if you have a two device or a two VM if they have been created on in a same subnet? So right now, if you notice here, you have a two VM has been available here. That's called a VM1, and you have a VM2. Both are being it's been created under a category of subnet A here. So we are just trying to see if both the devices been connected or a communicated, if you've been on in the same subnet, are we able to communicate each other? This is the first lab we are trying to do it here. So let's connect to VM1 and VM2 here. Let's go to VM properties here. Let's go to the portal. Connect to the virtual machine here. You have a VM here. So let's connect to that VM here. Right now you can able to see you have a three VM available here. What is the difference between these three VMs here? First two VM, it's been created on the same subnet, and the third VM has been created on in the second subnet here. You can able to see here. So you can have a second subnet also. So let's connect to the VM1 first. I think VM1 is already we have here, right? So this has been VM1 has been already configured here. So let me disable a firewall first. Sometimes the firewall, internal OS firewall may block the communication. Just for a temporary purpose, let me block it that. So just give me a second. In a production scenario, we won't be doing this since it's a testing one. I'm just disabling here. What is the host name here? It's a VM1 and IP address is 10.0.4 here. Let me connect to VM2 as well here. Right now I'm connecting to VM2 also here. VM2 is here. You can able to see the connecting to VM2. Let me connect to VM2 here. Given the username and password, it's trying to connect it. Let's wait for that just to complete. Let's wait for that. Right now you can able to see this VM2 also has been completed here. So right now the VM2 also it's been connected here. Let's wait. Right now if you go to local server, let me disable this local firewall. It's been inventory is in progress here, so we need to wait a minute. So we may have to wait a minute here. Let me disable these things. Now, if you go to the IP address here, you may be able to see the computer name has been VM2 here. You may be able to see this code IP address from the same subnet. You can able to see 10.0.0.5 here. You can able to see the IP address 10.0.0.5 here. Now, if you try to ping with the first server here, 10.0.0.4, you may be able to see we are getting a response here, right? If you can able to see here, I'm able to communicate to 10.0.0.4 here. So right now I'm inside VM2, which has been part of the subnet here. If I'm trying to connect to subnet A, the same subnet, the VM which has been configured, I'm able to communicate here. Now, if I'm go back to 10.0.4, from here, if I'm trying to connect to 0.5, you may be able to see here. From the first VM also, I'm able to communicate here. Right now, you can able to see connected to VM1. From there also, I'm able to communicate each other. So that means, so the learnings currently we have here, it's been like, if you have any device, if you've been configured on in a same subnet, right now, if you take it here, you have a both VM, for example, like a VM1 and a VM2, both are configured on in a subnet. So the learning currently we have here, it's by default, any device, if you've been hosted on in a same subnet, this will be able to communicate each other by default. Okay. When it is coming on a real-time production scenario, you will be using couple of a traffic management or a network controlling mechanism. That is the second part. But right now I'm saying like, if you take any VM by default, this will be allowed, or it's by default the communication between a two VM has been allowed here. I'm pausing here for taking your input or for taking your questions on the same thing. If you're good, you can put a comment here. So any questions if you have, request you to post it on the chat. Or if you're good or you got the concept, put a single comment there. It's been good. So that will ensure myself and you are on the same page. We are getting a comment on the chat. It's been like it's been not seen. Look like it's an individual issue. You may have to rejoin. This may be an issue with your teams because rest of the members are able to see you. So this may be an individual teams issue. So you may have to reconnect it here. So, so we got a few comments on the chat saying that it's been good and questions. So right now you have been seeing uh, a VM or multiple VM which has been configured on in the same subnet. Now we are getting another question here. What about the another VM which is been configured on in a different subnet here? Right now you can able to see here we have a different subnet is been configured, but if you're seeing here both are being configured under the same VNet. So what will happen if you have a two subnet which has been configured on in a different subnet but in the same VNet here? So right now, if you look into this, if you're looking to this simulation here, we have a VM3 has been available here. VM3, if you're taking here, VM3 has been configured. VM3 has been configured in a DB subnet under the category of prod VNet. So we are just trying to see, are we able to communicate from VM1 to VM3? Means one subnet to another subnet, which has been hosted under the same VNet. Are we able to communicate? There's a lab. Right now we are able to, we are trying to do it here. Now, if you go back here, if you go to VM3 here, you can able to go to a virtual machine here. Go to the VM3 here. Connect. We're trying to connect to the VM3 here using the public IP address here. It's got some error message. Let me retype the password. Given a password and username here. I'm trying to connect to the VM3 here. Right now you can able to see we've been connected to VM3 here. It's the inventory is in progress here. So just let's wait a minute. Right now you can able to see here. You have VM3 has been connected here. So let's connect. Right now you can able to see we have been connected to VM3 here. So right now if you go to VM properties here, you can able to see the VM3 got on a different IP address here. That's been 10.1.0.4 here. Now in case if you want to communicate here, what will happen to that server here? That's a questions we have here. Now if I'm trying to connect to first VM, that's been got a IP address 10.0.0.4. Let's try to see what will happen. You may be able to see here, even if the VM is being hosted in a different subnet under the same VNet, you will be able to communicate each other. Right now you can able to see you are trying to initiate a ICMP or a communication from a VM3. You may be able to see here the moment when you try to connect to VM1 here. Right now you can able to see it's been 10.0.0.4. If you want me to, let me maximize this screen here. Give me a second. Font size, let me put it to some 36 here. You may be able to see here 10.0.0.4. This is the IP address uh, assigned to a VM1 here. From a VM3, right now you can able to see we are inside VM3. From inside VM3, you are able to communicate to VM1 here. For example, like if you try to connect to VM2 also, you may be able to see you are able to reach out here. See 10.0.0.5 able to communicate from VM3. For example, like if you try to connect from reverse also. For example, like right now I'm connected on the VM1 here. You can able to see here it's been host name. You can able to see VM1. Right now we are inside a VM1. If you're trying to connect to VM3, you may be able to see we are able to communicate each other. This is a typo happened like ping. You can able to see we are able to communicate each other here. So the moment when you try to ping it, you are able to ping here. Now, when you go for a whiteboard here, or when you go for the concept here, the by default, if you take any communication, even if you have a multiple subnet, if it is configured on in the same subnet, you will be able to communicate each other. For example, like if you have a two subnet here, even this two subnet also will be able to communicate each other. So able to communicate each other. So if you want to communicate from a one subnet to different subnet, if it is one in the same under the category of a same VNet, you will be able to communicate each other. So this is about to by default, okay? But when you're going for in a real-time scenario, uh, even if the default communication is being allowed, that won't be able to take it forward. So generally, if you take any organization or a real-time scenario, you will be implementing a concept called NSG. That's called a network security group. So with the help of a network security group, one subnet to another subnet or one VM to another VM or within a subnet, you will make a traffic control or a traffic management. So that will ensure that only the right resource is being communicated each other. So that's an important point. You need to remember when you are going back on in a real-time scenario, because real-time scenario, you won't be allowing this kind of actions on in a real-time scenario. So that's about the in the subnet configuration here. I'm just pausing here for taking your questions. So in case if you have any questions here, let's have a discussion. So if you're good, we can move to the next part. Any question from anyone? So if you're good, you can. So I'm just waiting for the input from the team. Okay, better now. Okay, great. Okay. Now, next lab we are trying to do, it's been like taking another VNet on in a different region. Right now, if you take a region here, you created this is in a East US data center. Now, let's take another scenario here. Let's put another region here. Let's take another VNet on in a different region. For example, like let's take a category of a West US region here. I'm creating another VNet in a West US region. For example, like let's take HR network in a West US region. Then we'll try to see, are we able to communicate between this network? Let's create another VNet or in a different region here. Let's go back to the portal here. Let's go back to the portal here. Virtual network. I'm just creating another window here. So let's create another virtual network here. I'm just creating something called HRVNet here. This let's create on the same resource group, but name is been giving HRVNet instead of East to West. Let's give it a configure in a central India or create a West to West. West to West. IP address we are giving 10.0.0.16 here. Subnet is been giving is been subnet C. Okay, so I'm just given a name 10.0.1.0 here. So created another resource here, another VNet here. The VNet creation is in progress here. So let's wait. So let's wait here. Deployment you can able to see here. It's been completed here. Let's wait for that. Now let's create another virtual machine here. Let's create a VM4 here. Let's create a VM4 here. Let's create VM4 here. Now we are going to create instead different data center that's called West 2S here. You can able to see it's West 2S here. Let's create that. So right now you can able to see the fourth VM on in a different subnet is being created here. So right now you can able to see the VM creation is in a progress state here. Let's wait. So let's wait for that. So the VM creation is in progress now. Right now you can able to see the deployment for the server is in progress now. Let's wait. Right now you can able to see here the VM4 is being created here. So let's go to the VM here. You may be able to see your virtual machine VM4 is being created here. VM4 is being attached to a different VNet here. Right now you can able to see it's been HR VNet here. See, HR VNet has been created here, and it's been created under category of subnet C here. So let me connect to this VM here. Right now I'm just connecting using RDP here. Right now you can able to see RDP connection is been connecting using that. So right now we are just trying to connect it here using the username and password. You may be able to see a difference here. So right now you can able to see we are trying to connect it here. So VM4 is been connecting remotely, which is being configured on a different VNet here. Right now you can able to see the server is been connected here. Let me go back to the server here. It's been the installation is in progress state now. Let's wait. Right now if you connected, you can able to see here. If you go to IP address here, let's type host name here. It's been VM4. If you type a IP address here, you may be able to see this code 10.1.4 here. So you can able to see. you have a 10.1.4 here. So that's a option generally you're getting here. So you can able to see here. So you can able to see it's been uh, option has been like 10.1.0.4 here. Now, if you try to connect to the first server here on in a production one, 10.0.0.4, you may be able to see here. You won't be able to communicate here. So right now you can able to see you are trying to connect from a server where you have a server is been available here. Now, when the moment when you try to connect it in a system here, you are not able to communicate here. See, so I'm just trying to second computer here, pinned on 0.0.5. You can able to see even that also it's been not allowing us to connect it here. So what is your learning from here? It's been like in case if you have a multiple VNet available in your network, for example, like in your organization, if you have a different VNet, for example, like if you have a multiple VNet has been available in your organization, in that kind of a scenario, one network to another network, right? Here, right now, if you can able to see here, you have a HR VNet has been created here. Inside an HR VNet, you created a HR network. Inside that, you created a subnet C, and inside that, you created a VM4 here. Now, the point you learned, it's been like in case if you have a different VNet, one VNet to another VNet communication is been by default it's been not allowed. I hope you may be understanding this one. I'm saying if you have a different VNet is been available here by default one um, mode or that means one VNet to another VNet communication by default is been not allowed. Means one subnet to different subnet is been by default it's been not allowed in an organization. So the learning currently we have here it's been like, for example, like if you have a multiple VNet on a different region, for example, like this has been hosted in East US region and you have another VNet available in West another region. If you want to connect different region each other, you need to enable something called VNet peering. So in an organization, if you want to communicate between each other or in a different region, you need to enable a concept called VNet peering. In a real-time scenario, there are two type of peering it's been configuring. One is called regional VNet peering, and second one is been known as a global VNet peering. Global VNet peering generally using, for example, like if you have a multiple data centers. So the example right now we've been focused. For example, like you try to connect from a east to west to west to east. That means globally you have been communicating to different data centers here. So that generally it's been enabled in that kind of a situation. If you want to communicate each other, that generally it's been enabled with the help of a global VNet peering. In case in your same region, for example, like in the East US data center itself, if you have multiple VNet has been configured, even this is been not allowed. For example, like if you have a multiple VNet has been available on the same region, even that also it's been not allowed. So that's the important point you need to remember. So that kind of a scenario, you need to enable something called regional VNet peering. So that's an important point. Um, you can able to um, understand. So you need to use something called um, regional VNet peering. So with the help of a regional VNet peering, you can able to use this one. So this is a two concept generally available on in a production scenario for making a network. So I'll be doing one thing. I'll be sharing this a document on how to do a VNet peering and Active Directory and the DNS. All this complete handout also will be providing it to you. So I'll be sharing to Surag and it's be able to connect it here. So we are almost on time today. So there are many topics been left here. So it's been a 40 hours of a training and we are just trying to connect it in 10 hours here. So we have some time boundings we have here. So we try to cover as much as possible for you in a more practical oriented simulated way. So I hope the session was been useful to you. And so we'll have a similar kind of a program is been coming in every week. So ensure that you are joining that, you're joining, following us on a WhatsApp group also. Surag, over to you.
Thank you, Robin, for the session. Thank you all for joining for these 5 days with us. I hope it was resourceful, it was helpful for you, and I hope you guys will be joining with us in the upcoming training as well. And the recording of the today's session will be available in our YouTube channel, and whoever who filled the attendance form will be receiving your certificate of participation on Monday. And if there is any queries, you can post it in the community. Thank you again for Robin and everyone who joined with us. And yeah,
Yeah, that's
thank you and
important
bye.
point. Like manually Surag is making all the certificate. So we need to give some time to Surag also. So in case if you're not received your certificate until next Wednesday, you can able to connect with us because Suragi needs to go through each participant. We need to put all this design and all your name correctly. Cross verification needs to done. So we need to give some time to him also. So because generally we used to say like in the Saturday onwards, we used to get a question like what happened to my certificate. So uh, give us some time because tomorrow and after tomorrow it's been weekend. So possible like in Wednesday, if you're not getting this one, you can post in the group. We'll able to help in case if anyone has been not received this one. So this has been all this event we've been made to ensure that there's a skill updation happening from your side. That the reason we this event has been organized. So thank you team. Yeah, we'll be getting on in your email. We'll be getting that. So we'll wait till next Wednesday. And in case if you're not received on Wednesday, you can connect with us. So rather than posting on Sunday and tomorrow itself. So we need some time for making the certificate also. Thank you. Thank you all. Happy weekend. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.